Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am Captain Frodo, and I will be your gracious guide and host along the way. Now, the summer has come again here in Norway, and that means for the third year in a row I've traveled to Kristiansand, about 5-hour drive or so away from where I live, to a beautiful park and zoo, theme park and zoo, where I am in a show called Circus Jesper. And I've talked about that before, and it's great to be back doing that again. That means that I'm recording this episode inside a caravan, which gives its own particular unique sound, a little bit tinny perhaps. Maybe you can hear some birds, and every now and then all the dogs go crazy and start barking on some perceived stranger arriving, which most usually is just some of us who arrives on a bike after having been over in the park doing this, that, or the other. We've just had a rehearsal week, and finally I can go in and have a little bit of time now that the show is up and running. It's fun. And it gives a bit more time to do all of this. And for not so long ago, a few weeks ago, I booked myself a flight and went to Stockholm. And in Stockholm, I had some great conversations with Jay Gilligan, which today's episode will be with Jay Gilligan, the preliminary episode with him, and also with Eric Aubrey, which is the interlocutor and conversation partner on Object Lessons, Jay and Eric's podcast, and also Ivar Heckscher, who is one instrumental in starting the circus school at the university in Stockholm. And we'll have conversations with him coming up, and with a group conversation with all of us, so I'm quite excited about all this. We're also going to spend a couple of episodes talking. Actually, it's going to be several of them, because me and Jay have a couple of preliminary episodes where we are talking quite casually, and today's episode is going to be like that, or as casual as me and him speaks, where we find some time in the kitchen where you can hear some cluttering and clanking in the background as he makes hot dogs for his son and thinks of where life interferes with art. But the conversation had already started, today's conversation, where we were talking about an article from, I believe it was New York Times, that was talking about Juan Tamariz, the amazing godfather of magic in Spain, a very influential performer. And what we talked about when this episode today starts is Juan Tamariz, and how he was asked to do a trick at a party by someone's wife, and he said, no, I won't show you a trick, but I can show all of you a trick. And then he proceeds to rearrange the room, and they move a table in, and they place the chairs around it, and then start the show. And as a result, his performance was an astounding success, and everybody got to see how incredible he actually is. Whilst if he had only done the simple trick, pick a card, here it is, then it would all not have been able to showcase the depth of his magic, perhaps. So that's where the conversation picks up. But I realized that I kind of went straight into talking about today's episode, when I was also going to give a little overview of what's going to happen over the next 10 episodes or so here. And that is that we're having these first 2 preliminary episodes where me and Jay talk about a bunch of things, and then we sit down and we thought that we would talk for one episode, 1 hour, about his show Another Sunset. But as it turns out, that turned into 3 one-hour conversations. So that's going to be a real deep dive into the process of making a show, into the concepts that goes into creating an art piece, where you really are pushing the boundaries of what can be expressed and what can be experienced through juggling. And the topics are going to be juggling and color. That's going to be 3 episodes, and then we'll have a couple of episodes where we're doing the group talk with me and Jay and Ivar, and Ivar is 80 years old. So it's just wonderful to have this guy give this depth of perspective. And he's a very thoughtful person, so that's all very interesting. And then I have a conversation coming up with Eric Aubrey, and that goes real deep into the academia and what it's actually like to do a PhD on circus and all the hoops that you have to jump through to be able to make that come alive. So, all in all, we're going to explore one of the questions that I keep returning to, is that I want to grasp. That's not starting today, but as it comes to fruition, this long series of conversations. One of the questions that bothers me is about abstract art and abstract circus performance. So I keep coming back to that question. But for today, we have a short and sharp episode that turns out, when I'm listening to it in hindsight, that it's quite practical. It's about so it starts with talking about Tamariz and how he sets the room up for the audience to be ready to really perceive and to really experience what he does, not just cut his losses and do a trick in the corner. So, and then that we start talking about lights, and we start talking about all sorts of other quite practical things in how to situate and how to make the audience be able to experience your art rightly. So this is quite a practical episode, quite a few little takeaway things that you can hear and maybe use in your own day-to-day gigging. Anyway, without further ado, here it comes, the first kitchen conversation with Jay Gilligan.
But that means that he is also so incredibly aware of how that effect works, right? And I wish I knew from my own craft that I was that clearly consequent on what I was trying to do, where I'm like, no, but Frodo, if you stand 5 centimeters to the left, then you're gonna see the trick, or that'd be so cool.
It's really interesting. So like the worst, he's pointing to the fact that it doesn't mean that the technique is unimportant. The only thing that's important is that you convey the effect to the audience,
or that the technique is possibly just bigger than we think it is.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you focus down onto, is it only
the double lift?
If that's the only thing that, and I think when you're a novice magician or a novice of anything, then you think that that's what it's about.
Well, it goes back to maybe you just can't hold all that information in your head from the beginning, and then this idea that the technique expands beyond even your body, but it expands to the room and the placement of the audience. That's maybe the mark of like, you've done this for 20 years and you can finally have the headspace to go that deep into it to understand the actual
But it's beautiful. It's like an ecology or whatever. It's because the little details are important, but they're only important when the whole context is right. The woman goes, "Can you show me a card trick?" And Juan Tamariz goes, "No, but I will show all of you a card trick." And then they get a table, they move all of the stuff off it, they set the people around, there's 3 chairs put up, and one on each side of him, in exactly what Daltis says, that the magic only happens when the people are in the right positions. But that also means that in this process, he's also building the anticipation. He's not just like... He's not just giving it away mundane and deflated, and here's a card trick, and you go, oh, that was neat.
He's positioning
and himself and a room, and he's creating a stage, and he's creating an event, and this crazy guy with the curly hair and the hat and whatever, he is now going to do something which is going to blow our minds. It's like, and the whispers go, and people are helping to make it into a theater or whatever, and in that process he is setting the stage for magic to happen. And they all are tuned to it now in every way. It's not something that's being forced upon you when you're sitting in a cafe and someone comes over and goes, "Hey, let me show you this," whilst you're deep in the conversation about how someone you love just got cancer.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's a funny thing. You're talking about, Juan making the occasion, like, "Hey, can you show me a trick?" And he could just be like, "Oh yeah, here, it's an ace, blah, there it goes," and you're just like, huh. But like, he's building the anticipation. He's creating value for the work, right? Like he's
and context.
He's giving respect to the work, so he's heightening the value of it, right? Like he's giving importance to it. So Zeppel and I, we were just in Mexico doing this gig, which I haven't told you about, but part of the repercussions of that experience, and I wanted to ask you then, how do you relate to this idea? Is basically, many times we found out like we're just too easy to work with.
Oh, okay.
We think that by erasing friction in the process of performing, we're doing a good thing. So, for example, "Hey, can you guys just set up and do a show here?" And we're like, "Okay, yeah."
In the corner behind the barrier.
"Hey, how much time do you need to set up? Can you start in a half an hour?" "Oh yeah, we can start in a half an hour." We think we're being professional there. But actually, in Mexico, it totally backfired. It like worked against us, right? Because you become disposable. Like the people don't value what you do because, "Oh, hey, man, Frodo, can you just do a show really fast in like 20 minutes over there?" And you're like, "Oh, okay." And in your mind, it was like you said, you preparing for that trip you took recently.
Oh, yeah.
Because in your mind, me and Zeppel were like, "Oh shit, a show in a half hour. We got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. Can we do that? No, I'll cut this, I'll change that. Okay, It's like a lot of work for us internally. Externally,
it looks like it was just you just threw out the show
but we're editing as we go.
Yeah.
And so we realized later on, like, if we were more divas, or just more normal, then people say, "Hey, can you do a show over there in a half hour?" And we could say, "No, I'm sorry, it actually takes us 90 minutes to set up the show." And you can see that on the email we sent you beforehand. We all agreed on this. This is 90 minutes, so we're happy to start in 90 minutes from now. Actually, not from now, because we need electricity. So 90 minutes from having electricity, we can start. Just stuff like that, right? I always think in my life, the easier I am, the more professional I am, the easier I am to get along with, the easier it is for me to do a show, the more opportunities come my way that I can seize, and the more people will respect me in the way of like, "Man, that guy's great. He really crushed it out in 30 minutes and he did a show and it was great." But that's not what people think, right? They just go like, "Oh, it was a fine show. Like he did a show." Because the value of doing that show it's the same as Juan Tamariz, right? Like, "Can you just do a trick for me?" No, I can't, but I can build up in a situation where then when he does the trick, it's this big thing. Where same thing for my show. So how do you like, what's your, how do you navigate this tension between like being a diva, we can say, and being like super easy to work with? Like, what's the... Because you seem to be pretty easy, I would guess.
I am easy to work with, I think.
But don't people then...
No, so what I do sometimes say is that they go, "Oh, can you do it in the corner underneath the blanket without sound and not making noise?" If they go, I mean, I don't have to be that concrete. They go like, "Oh, do you need music?" Or like, "Can you do it without this?" And then I say, "Well, now I'm here," because that's usually when it happens. It's like ahead of time, then it's just in an email. I tell them what I need, and then they will say, "Oh, we don't have this or don't have that." But when I'm there and there are some changes or whatever, I would say, "I have this is what I need. If you give me these things," which is like I'm on the spot, an elevated spot, because then I can fall off that elevated spot. If they can all see me, if I get a microphone with 3 legs and a boom stand, and I get the cord, and the cord is long enough, and I get the chair, and everyone can see me, and I get the music on when I want it to go on, then we will deliver a world-class event. So like what I will do, people will go, "Oh my lord," and they will all talk about it, and it'll be, "I was there when that happened, it was amazing, and he fell off his elevated spot." When you then go, oh, we don't have an elevated spot, I go, that's fine. Oh, we don't have a mic with a cord. I go, that's fine. And you go, but each one of these takes away a level of comedy, of professionalism, of detail, or so. So you're stripping back that thing, and you get a lesser product for it.
Yeah.
But, and because currently I'm working a lot at events or whatever, then I'm going like, but it is your event,
right?
And if you're to put the point on it, and as long as you're aware that by giving me these limitations, you don't get the full experience, or you don't get the full reward of what you have booked, and you booked me here for
your
this
investment, basically. Yeah.
So you've invested this money in it, and if you want to use me like that, or so, then that's okay.
Right.
I don't quite put it in quite as point as that, but I usually, in a brief way, that's sort of what I say. I can perform under any conditions. Like, I did this.
Right.
That's what I've been thinking of a little bit lately. But I did this at St. James's Palace for King Charles. You know, King Charles, the monarch formerly known as Prince. And I did it a couple of weeks ago in a refugee camp.
Right.
And both times it completely went off. One of them I had the microphone, and everything was so organized down to the least detail of everything that was the refugee camp. No, I'm joking. And then the other, and both places went really well. Like they just went off, but in completely different, for reasons, a different thing. So I don't know. That's how I've lost my thread a little bit on.
No. I've heard you say that before, and I mean it makes sense. Like I get the idea. Like you have basically your core. You have your core values that like. You're not a diva. You don't need green M&Ms in the dressing room, but you do have a baseline. I need the cord. I need the elevated place. I mean, you have your integrity, and below that it starts to erode the effect.
But it's true. But apart from that, that's right. I don't set many standards of I need to have my own dressing room. I don't normally say that or whatever, and if it's at all possible, and then it's like. But
it's not. Yeah. So when me and Wes we went to do GOP and Variety Days in Germany. Have you seen one? Ever been to a GOP?
I haven't.
Whatever, standard German variety. And when we were doing, so what happened was Wes did Cirque de Demain with his solo graduation act from school here.
Yeah.
And then he got a contract at GOP. And because of his psychology, can we say, he didn't want to do his solo act at GOP because the GOP ceilings are not high enough to do the act without changing a couple of throws. So then, because he was like, well, I can't do my act here because like your ceilings are too low in your theaters, and I'd have to change this trick here, so I can't do my act. So then he said, well. I have a duo act with Jay Gilligan. We can do that instead. And then GOP said, okay, fine. Which was great for me.
Yeah.
And then when we went to do the tech, or before we did the tech, I had advice from a friend who said, because my thing has always been like this to my detriment, I think overall it's been a negative effect. But I'm going to talk about light design. So with the light design, I'm always just like, turn the lights on so that I can see the objects and the people can see me. Mm-hmm. That's my light design.
Yeah.
There's no changes, there's no chases, there's no flashes, there's no color.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I think juggling is concrete in my world. I'm not in a fantasy world. I throw a ball, I catch it, it actually happens. I'm not pretending I'm Robin Hood. So, and the lights are also not the important part, so everything just needs to be concrete and real and not distracting from what I think is important, which is the objects, blah, 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 blah. And that's not to say that you couldn't have good, like more in-depth lighting design than just turn the lights on. But I also have a huge distrust of technicians, and I also have, because especially with juggling, or lots of things, but with juggling, you know, if the technician's in the middle of the act misses the cue, which happened all the time in Absinthe, it's my problem now, and it sucks. And
you're out there and you can't do your job.
So, and I also think I'm being easy. I mean, I just turn the lights on. I always say that. Just turn them on. General wash, white, no problem. Like, I think I'm being easy. But somebody took me aside before I went to do tech at GOP, and they're like, hey man, you can't do that. Who told me this? They're like, you can't do that. You have to have at least a minimum of 3 lighting looks and 3 changes in the act. And I was like, oh, why is that? Is it so that the show looks a certain way, or they perceive me, or that the act has a certain journey or emotion? They go, no, it's nothing like that. You have to have at least 3 changes in lighting looks so that they take you seriously at the theater when you load in.
Oh, yeah.
So that they respect you as people. Because if you show up as 2 artists and you're just like, oh, hey, we're this new act, and yeah, just turn the lights on, just general wash, they're going to be like, these guys are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. They're not professional. There's nothing about the show. It was only about the internal politics of like the respect of the... So then when you show up and you're like, hey man, I really need a spotlight here. It has to be 4.5 centimeters, blah, 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 blah. It's too small. I need another centimeter. Come on. If you're a little bit like a diva, then they go, oh shit, well, okay, this guy's serious.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty weird lesson I learned.
That's a really good point as well, Lola. But it's because you're meeting the people when they're coming in, whether they're like, where you come to the theater and then you meet the technicians, and they don't know you from a bar of soap, so you have to create that connection with them. And if you do that if you have the time and you actually connect to them as a person, then they would probably not balk at you saying, well, the reason why I'm doing this is this. I seem like I'm easier, like I haven't thought about it. And then they will see you as a person, but they come in and all you get this, like, they're sitting there and the artists got to come in on a tech run, and you got half an hour, but they're doing 10 hours of that without an actual break.
And they're doing it every 2 months.
And they do it,
with new art. Like,
so that's also a different thing, because I think you and me, and with the concept of folk circus, also reflects the kind of jobs that we do.
That's true.
So that's one thing, and for me, it's also then that I got kind of institutionalized by traveling around with the same lighting technician for 12 years.
Right.
So Willie Sutton, incredible guy, he knew what I wanted, and he knew, and he was setting up the same show basically for 12 years. There was always changes because there was always other cast members, but I was always in it. So we just came on, and he just went. He didn't need to. It also meant that I was done last, because it was just he was doing just people that needed to be done, and then they sort of skipped me or whatever. But it became so that I didn't get to articulate what it was. If I did 6 different seasons, because you got to do a season before lights become normal. That was what it becomes a problem, and that was kind of what I was meaning with you and me get shaped by the fact that you're always doing a one-off gig here and a one-off gig there, and you arrive and there is no time to set the lights right, or like to go, well, actually I need you to hang 11 lamps and then to get some guy to go up in a ladder, and by the time that starts to happen, you've used all your tech time, so there was no time to test it. And if you're doing anything, like, I don't do skills on your level, but I do balances. It's like on the cams, I can now do it on almost any circumstance, but balancing the spoon and whatever, it's like, if I don't see that spoon with a light from the back that shines onto that spoon, then I can't do it. And I've just been doing it at corporate gigs and stuff, so I've started to go around with a flashlight. So now I have a flashlight that clips into the mic stand. So
that's clever.
Now it doesn't, because that's the only one where I go, I can't do it, but I do a couple of little juggling things. And there too, like, you need the light, but there I don't know the lights. I can't fix it quite like that. But with the spoon, I know exactly what I need. I can take the mic out, put it on the floor, clip the mic, put it in the back, and then I can do it. And it's only for 20 seconds or whatever, half a minute, that it takes to actually the 2 different balances things that I do. So then you can go back to, just make me look good, kind of. But so that's the sort of the knife edge there. Like, you want to be easy, but it's also that I know that as soon as we start to go down this route of setting the lights, it's going to take a whole lot of
So
time.
it's not just about easy, it's about being realistic.
Yeah.
It's again based on our previous experience of like,
Yeah.
you can come in and be like you said, I want to have 20 lights here, this and that, and then, but that's not gonna, it's not gonna work.
We don't have that time, and then
Yeah.
but then when I did my solo show during the pandemic, and there I can't remember what that guy's name was, but he's an in-house technician at the theater in Haugesund, and there we had just one day to bump in, but we did have the time, and he set up these lights, and the show looked incredible. It wasn't just me standing at the pulpit reading out this text. The lights were changing, and it looked totally awesome, like with the backlight and in red and dark all around me and stuff. And he really translated that so excellently, and it was so worth it to
That was
do
the other
it.
thing I forgot to say, which was that the thing I do is like, not only are the lights supposed to be just not distracting and just real, and we're here in this real world, I also feel like, and I've done this so many times and I should stop it, but like, I've never sat down in my life and spent like 6 months looking at lighting design for juggling. Never did it. Never had time or a chance.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I feel that there could be really great light design for juggling. Maybe in Reflex there was great light design at moments in New York. I think
I would say there was.
I think
Yeah,
there
it was, yeah.
You know, but in terms of that being conscious and intentional, I don't think that's really there yet. Like we made those lights in a day.
Yeah, yeah.
So whatever, and sure there was an eye and there was an idea. That doesn't mean it was the best it could be. And I would love to sit down in my life, you know, for 6 months and just do juggling and lights, and then I know the rest of my life because I would have that as a base. Same thing for costume things, same thing for makeup, same thing for other things.
This is the next though. You did juggling and color, which I want to dig into.
Yeah.
But and that's been a long time thing, and juggling in light, that is absolutely an extension of that.
Yeah.
If you were to do, because you've grasped onto that thing which is fully under your control, the props.
Yeah.
So you have gone more than the extra mile to have rings, balls, clubs in colors that don't exist commercially, etc.
Yeah.
So that you can have it, and to make those shine in the way that they did. When I was looking at the video clip that you sent of it, there was like, that's why I commented on, the filters look good, because it's in a white art space and with white lights and everything.
Yeah.
And that makes the objects and the colors of it pop, but it does mean that the video looks very white, so it looks very stark, and maybe the video didn't quite capture enough the vibrancy of the props, which when I saw those images first that you sent me, just pictures of where you walk into the space and you have the wave of colors with the balls on the different pedestals. Such a striking, beautiful image, and in that white space, no doubt, it just makes that pop. And that the next step of this would then be, how do you integrate the colors of the balls and the rings with the colors of the space? Because you can use the colors on the wall, which is white, but you can use like is that called Sykes? Those ones where you have and the whole background can change, because there's the color isn't a thing in itself; it's a relational thing. So you change those colors so anyway, that's. I can see why you spending 6 months working on light and then combining it with the work that you've done that became another sunset. That could be a definite artistic.
When I went to Ivar the first time and said I want to work with color, then Ivar goes with juggling, and he goes, yeah, but of course the props, blah 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 blah. We talk, and then Ivar was the one who was like, you need to have a different color background that can change color. And I was like, of course. And then I thought that already for me, this is, we're talking years ago, right?
Yeah.
That already for me had blown my mind in terms of the conception of what I was doing. I was like, of course Ivar's right. I have to have a color changing background.
Same as we've done the Ortiz. What's the best? What's the best force? And he goes, no, it's not about the best force. You need to set up the situation, and that blows our mind as well. Going like, of course, everything is connected. And
so then Ivar wasn't done.
Oh yeah.
So I thought we were done. I was like, you blew my mind. Now we're done. And then Ivar's like, yeah, but of course the ceiling has to be the color, and the walls and the floor. And then I was like, oh fuck, I'm so stupid. Because the first comment, I'm like, I need to have this big background. How's that going to work? That's not going to work. I can't carry that around. How's that going to change color? a colored psych, white cloth with colored lights, but then of course he actually takes it to the real conclusion, which is you need to carry around your own theater, which is not wrong,
and
to say.
Not completely impossible either if you really
no.
like
well,
it.
So then following on from that, I mean, this was a whole process, but then it was like, okay, I can't. I had talked to Eric about it, and Eric had said this. So he's like, hey Jay, you can't carry around a theater right now with your current infrastructure of your company, but what you can do is you can make a film. You could do that once. You could do it one time that you control the walls, the lights, and everything. You don't have to carry it with you, but you make a film. So I was on doing it. It was going to be a film for years, and then because that was a totally smart observation. I could totally get a theater that one time I can control everything and make a film. But then, of course, reality sets in, and I even had a filmmaker. I even had a grant. That's a whole other story. And the film didn't get made. That's a whole story. But I was on my way. Like I had a filmmaker and a grant to pay her. The film didn't get made. But then reality seeps in, and I'm like, well, I'm a live performer generally, and I want to perform this for people live as well. So then I had started buying lights. Me and Ivar started buying lights. And I don't know if you ever got into buying lights, dude.
No, I didn't.
That is another world of money. Like if you want to start getting real lights, man, each light is like 5,000 euros. Like for real. If you want to get real stuff. So of course we weren't getting real stuff. We were getting like the 300 euros a light and getting 10 of those, which still sucks.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
And so I started buying lights for a while, and then after a while it was basically like, oh yeah, this show is going to turn into a lighting design show. It's just going to turn into that. It's just going to turn into juggling green rings and red lights so they look black. And it's taking it one step removed from the juggling, and I felt like I needed to have a base.
Yeah, but that's why you need to do the 6-month exploration, because you need to do that and you have to have that thought. But now when you're working with lights and juggling together, you're now at level 1 thinking again. Like you're thinking in juggling is at level 10 or whatever, because you thought so much about it. And now you're thinking of juggling and light connected, and you already thought a lot about juggling and color. But every time you move in a sidestep, the first things you think of will be green rings and red light.
But that was
black.
The problem was there was no baseline for juggling and color. We were already skipping that step and getting into like. You see what I mean? So that's where I was like, no, another sunset.
This was when it started. This is 10 years ago, basically.
Yeah, there's no lights. It's just where we are, and we're stuck with the background. We're stuck with the ambient light, and this pink ring is going to look pink here, and it's going to look different pink over there. That's what we're stuck with. But we're going to establish like what happens when you do this trick with these permutations of color, and then that was kind of the idea of another sunset. And I think the next iteration will be, now that we've established that as some sort of like jumping off point, you can start to add lights, and you can start to add, hopefully,
costume, all the other
set
things.
Design, sound, makeup, I don't know, like in theory. But yeah, it was totally.
But it's always great though, and I also find sometimes when you first have a new idea for something, then it's so open, and there's so much stuff that you can do, and it's a very creative phase. And then after that, to make these concrete things, because sometimes the thing that was a whole show could evolve into being the most incredible act that you saw. So we're going, we're going to juggle all this, and it's going to all just be white light, but all of a sudden the light goes completely red, and I'm juggling the green rings, and all of a sudden we are back to the black that the clubs had, because I know that there was another sunset started juggling with black clubs, and then you have that back again, and then you go, that's really cool. So you're taking all those little things, but it doesn't become like the full exploration. It just becomes this 8-minute incredible act or whatever. So you don't know where the journey is going to go, but you have to take it. And what I do love about it though, and what is so awesome with Ivar and whatever, is that you immediately think in very big pictures, whilst I'm very frequently constricted by the real world situations that I perform under.
That's exactly Ivar though. Like that's Ivar's thing. You go to Ivar and you say, hey man, what did you think about my costume? And he'll just be like, you should wear all gold. And in your mind, you're like, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm not going to get all gold clothes.
Yeah.
But he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Like, conceptually, you should wear all gold for that thing. And I see his thinking and I see his logic. And that's when he says, like, oh, you want to do color and juggling? Okay. You need to have a background and also a ceiling and a floor and walls. Because in his mind, like, and I love that about him, because he's not a juggler, but in practice, but he's a juggler in theory. And then he sees the reality of what it should be. I'm with the real world thing where I'm just like, I can't carry around a room right now, so
Although I was thinking, like, they have these sort of inflatable things now.
Or also geodesic domes. This guy
so geodesic
had
dome,
a little dome, and in Finland it seated 50 people. It was blacked out. I was like, oh, that's so cool. So it's not impossible, but it's just another whole layer of like
it's very
distraction from
but it's also
juggling color.
It's different than if we use that idea of like folk circus, of just making it approaching people in where they're at, and which with both it resonates so much with me, because a big part of what I do is that, whether it is doing a show on the street or whether it is doing a show in a one-day event where you are in a theater, because I had that the other day, where I did an event and I put together a whole this opening where I just played this Jack White track that is like
you said
and I go, rock and roll, let's do it again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one, the only, the legendary Captain Frodo, jang, da da jang. And when the music and when it really kicks in, I came cycling in on a mini bike, and when I then cycled onto the stage and I tested this, because it is surprisingly tricky to cycle because the bike is mini, and broken expectation or whatever it is. It's like you set up a big thing and then you come in, and then I came in and the lighting person had now put on what they thought was show lights, so the whole room was completely dark and there was just a white spot on the center of the stage. So I cycled in darkness and then was in the dark, a little bit in the spot in there, and then cycled through out, and there I was gonna do a turn around, which is this weird anti-climax. So he's doing a big pedaling and coming back out, and people couldn't see it and I couldn't see it, and it was like, so it's lights are so important. Now I forgot what it was why I brought that up, but it is just like you can do so much with light, but it's also,
I was really validated on another sunset that obviously not everybody who saw it loved it, right? But there were people who saw it who really got it, and I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't really prepared that people came up afterwards and were like, I get it, the color thing, I'm totally with you. And I was totally like, wait, what? Are you? You are? Oh, cool. Like, I hadn't thought that far. I was just getting the show out, and I hadn't thought, like, what effect it could have. And I was so validated that, like, it was just the room. It was no special lights. It was just these colored objects and what I said and what I did that convinced them. And I felt like, that's cool.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? That it wasn't about some bigger production value or bigger, I don't know, convincing thing. Like, because it is that self-esteem thing that Eric talks about, right? Like, it was just me in a white room with a ball with a balloon on it. And something that we had talked about with words, and me and Joe, and we had crafted these words, and that and the words and it convinced them. And I was like, wow, that's powerful.
But it's convincing, them, but it's also it has to do with convincing, but for me, I don't think of it like that. I think of it as if you have thought it through, or when I have thought it through strongly enough, and there is actually something genuinely beautiful. Like there's like beauty in that wider scope of what is aesthetics about, what is art about, and it's got something to do with beauty or something that captures your imagination. Then, if there is something like that in it, then they will see it. Not everyone will see it 100%. Some people will go up, oh, I can't believe you could juggle the knives. Oh yeah, here we go.
Did you show photo? Did you show photo what you said?
get the thumbs up for the right kind of butter. Awesome. Yeah. So I think it's not so much that you're convincing them, but if you truly know what it is that you want to say, and there is something in there, then they will see it. At least some of them will see it, and they all will see it in their own way, because it's happening in a multivalent kind of way. And those interested people who really get it and come up afterwards, sometimes that's enough. After I did my show in Norway during the pandemic, I did this spiel about swallowing the sword and what that actually means as a path of initiation, and how it is the way that I'm always chasing the mystery, and this is like the mystery is a physical thing, and that the position that you swallow, like when you're truly awed, your mouth falls open, and it's larger than you, so your head sort of tilts back. Like you're seeing a waterfall, or you're just seeing a meteor shower, and you're looking up at it and going, and then so I did the thing, and one woman in particular, I met her later on, and she brought it up, this moment, which all these moments of truth that I speak, that I've crafted so much, sometimes just disappear, I think, for people, and I just left with an emotion because I don't know how to retain those words or to express it. But this woman could. Yeah. And she was interested in this kind of stuff, of lack of meditation or whatever, and it just spoke to her, and it was amazing to talk to somebody 2 weeks after you've done the gig, and they can really, they could hear all the words, and they really got you because that specific thing resonated with them, and then it all becomes worth it. But you'd also know that other people are talking about it, but they can't put words to it, so it's important to get that right person there. But it's not, for me, it's pedantic, or maybe it's semantics just going like, it's not so much that I'm convincing them, but it is that there is something there for them to see, and then if it really is there, then it's not so much that I'm trying to convince you about something that you didn't believe, it's that I'm pointing to something where when you point to it, they go, oh, it's like they can't actually deny that it now has value or something.
Fuck, that's good, Frodo. That's really important. It goes back to the bad self-esteem thing, because I definitely had terrible self-esteem about color and juggling, because for years and years it was just so and even now it's just not what people, you can't talk about it in terms of, and that's why I used the word convincing. Actually, now you made me realize it. It's because these days you fill out a grant application. I mean, this is my story I say about this, which is I applied with Another Sunset to a residency here before the pandemic, got denied, but then pandemic came, and all of the people who could do those residencies, they couldn't travel. So there was an open call, but it was first come, first serve. So no politics, no themes, no messages, no nothing, just first come, first serve. And I got first email. I responded first. So I got the residency for Another Sunset, but it wasn't for Another Sunset, it was just because I emailed first and it was me. I could do whatever I wanted. But that was very symbolic to me of this color thing, in terms of the structure of like what's valuable right now in the discussion of circademics and all this other stuff. And that's why I say when I did the show there and I convinced people, but I love your point much better. That's much more positive and productive and for the future. But this idea, I had a heavy weight on my shoulders of like, no, but colors and juggling, it's like a real thing that I'm convinced of, and like, or that I'm convinced of, that this is worth my time and effort of 15 years or whatever it was to make this thing, and to not give up. And I think there's something really there. There's like a deep truth that's worth exploring. And then when other people responded positively, I was like, aha, like I was kind of vindicated for these past struggles that I had to go through. Not just that residency thing, that was more symbolic, but like there's definitely been those moments of just like, hey, like I don't know if I told you, I was at the art gallery like when it first opened, and Ule was trying to introduce me to someone, and he had said, oh, this is Jay, he's an artist, and the other person was, I'll say just for now, an actual artist.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Somebody who paints and does or puts weird objects in a room and.
Yeah, without any hang up of saying artist. And and Ule said, oh, but this is Jay, and he's an artist. And they go, oh, what do you work with? And then Ule says, well, Jay. And then Ule said it like this because he didn't know how to say it, and I don't fault him. But Ule's like, oh, well, he's a juggler, who's but he's working with color. And then as soon as he said it, it also sounded, he understood how weird it sounded, or like how useless it sounded.
Yeah.
And I felt really small and like, not bad. I'm fine. But like in that moment, I was like, oh, this is a problem. Like this communication didn't happen now.
So there is so
I went.
Ola didn't have the language to express what it was that you did,
and neither did I.
And just a tiny aside is that I find, having moved back to Norway and expressing what I do to other people who want to book me or whatever has become really difficult because my entire language is in English to describe what I do, and it's very specific words and very specific things that I feel like captures it and can sell it to them so they grasp it, and that so
but it's not
then all of a sudden you're within a full art context.
Yeah.
And somebody goes, oh, he is a juggler and he works with color.
Yeah.
And you just go, oh, and it just sounds.
Doesn't compute.
This is not.
Yeah, there's two things that don't add up to an understandable thing.
He juggles, because if you say, oh, he juggles yellow and red and brown balls, and then people go, well, in any picture that I've seen of a clown juggling, there's a circle of balls in different colors. So. Yeah. There's nothing new here. Yeah.
And also, just to say, which is what you meant to now, but I say it in another way, you have your language in English. It's not just language, right? It's context. Now you're in the Norwegian context, and it doesn't even matter if those words were in Norwegian, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same, because I just...
This is the art context. You're taking juggling and you're in an art gallery talking to another real artist.
Totally.
And it's all about concepts and about ideas or about...
Totally.
No, that's also something we can unpack a little bit too, because there's...
Well, I mean, I think in the art gallery, and that's a whole other thing I don't know about, but basically it's maybe less concepts and ideas than I thought. It is more like, I do large-scale paintings using watercolor and, found objects. Like, I find a lot of discussion like that, because I think... whatever, I was going to say, I don't think they need to justify farther than that. Because it's already art, so that's the justification.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, I just simply think stuff like, people here, and I'm talking circus people here in Stockholm, they don't know who Spiegelworld is.
Yeah.
They don't know what absinthe is.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about your language in English. It's like, I find, like, I send my CV to someone here, they don't fucking know. They don't know what Seven Fingers is. Oh yeah.
No, that's interesting. Of course, I mean, like...
What was that noise? And it was these... Yeah, fucking chop.
But you have, you don't have the same references. So... Yeah. Like, people go...
Totally.
Oh, in this book, A Bandit.
Yeah.
Max Maven writes, it's like so is magic art or not? And this is something that happens in magic forums, and part of this question is like, is magic art or not? And you're asking the general person in the street, they have no thought about it.
Right on, yeah.
And I go,
totally.
No, like, let me, it's like there's like the scope here. We got like Lance Burton in one end with his Dove Act, and and then we have like Mac King doing comedy magic, and then we have Penn and Teller, and then because you might say, it's Lance Burton, they got no idea. Mac King, and here in Norway, they got no idea. And then you go, but Penn and Teller, and they still have no idea. Because that isn't run on normal TV here, or like it hasn't made it. So you go like, but these guys have been on TV since the 80s. Yeah. And like, I saw them when I was a child, and it was the most watched thing that I had. It was like, I was so... And then they go, but they've done like, what is it, 8-10 seasons of this Fool Us. And people still don't get it. Right. Which of course then explains why whether it is art or not doesn't matter, because they have no basis to make it, and they go, I saw this guy, he did balloon animals at this shopping center, but he did some magic. He had this coloring book that I don't know how he did it. It was very cool. Kids threw colors into it and it became colored. It was amazing. But I wouldn't think of it as art, you know.
Right.
I don't know. So like, I can't remember why I brought that up, but it's.
No, you're totally right.
Oh yeah, just that like you going into the art studio and you say he juggles but also works with color.
Totally.
That comes down then a little bit to that suspicion that people have with circus.
Yeah.
Like there's something suspicious about it because it's so populistic.
Right.
So people to some extent thought that about I've said this before, but like Jeff Koons. And he's a good example because he's making balloon animals, but they cost $300,000 and they are actually feats of engineering to make it look like they didn't just take a pipe and twist it into a 4 meter tall balloon dog. So it's actually like a full. But because it's so fun, it becomes almost suspicious to the art world. Yeah. Because it's so populistic. So, and that's when you go. If you instead when they said, oh, this is Jay, he works with color. Takes a simple room, works with color to create emotions and to get the right relation to the emotion, and then he does movement and he manipulates objects in the space to manipulate and get the colors to connect with. I'm recording this, so you can go back and.
Oh, that's perfect.
Then you can use this and you can write that down.
So I had a little crisis there. I went back and I wrote. Cool. I have the text somewhere, but I wrote 2 explanations of what I do. There was a long one and a short one, and the short one was something like, I'm working on a new piece, and. It's the starting point of the piece is that sunsets on Mars are blue, and that's because the atmosphere filters the light in a different way. So on every planet, the atmosphere has different chemical composition, and you can understand then that the sky is a
fraction of light,
sky's a different color. Yeah. And so I do juggling with objects. It was something like I do juggling with objects, exploring that quality of light. Just like those 2 images next to each other. And that was kind of my short explanation that I came up with. Yeah. Which I kind of is bullshit in one way, because it's a short explanation, but as a little soundbite that you meet an artist in a gallery and you say this is what I'm working with. I think that's pretty compelling compared to I do juggling with color.
Yeah. Like, and get this, after I've been juggling black clubs, then I juggle multicolored balls. It's like, I don't know if that speaks to me. So you do need to juxtapose it with something else.
Well, so I mean, and that comes back to the whole thing of like I think Rob and Jeremy were talking about this recently, but I was talking about it before. It's like, everybody talks about it. It's the, when you describe what you do, it's the this of this. You fill in the X and the Y of, it's the Blue Man Group meets.
I was talking about this. I said it's.
You totally were.
When I'm writing about the Showman's Guild, the secret society of circus. Yeah. And I was like, it's the greatest show on earth meets the Da Vinci Code. Yeah. Exactly. The Da Vinci Code meets the greatest show on earth.
Everything is like that in the world because you need to have those anchors of reference.
Yeah.
And that's the missing context in the art gallery. I do juggling with color. That's not a thing that computes. There's no reference for that. What could that mean?
But it's weird because it's like, no, it's not actually weird. I just made this connection now because it's conceptual art. So there is a strong concept, and I was hearing somebody talk about this recently, where they go, it has gotten to a point where when somebody says, and then Rembrandt painted painting, and then Picasso painted in this blue period, and they did this, and you go, and now when you're reading about this, then you need to go and look that image up. to see what it was. So this is the potato eaters, and the context for that is that potatoes was the poor man's food, whatever. And you need to see the image. But when somebody then goes, well, just going back to Jeff Koons, he took shiny chromed metal and twisted it into a balloon animal. Or whatever, and then you don't actually fully need to see it because you got it already. Or if it's even more conceptual, he made a comment about art by taping a banana to the wall. I don't have to look up an image to see the banana taped to the wall because the concept is that. But
love it.
So this is the conceptual art. But at the same time, then I thought what we were talking about now, it's like the Da Vinci Code meets the greatest show on earth, but it is also concept movies. All right, Samuel L. Jackson, we got this idea for a movie.
Yeah.
It's called Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
And Samuel L. Jackson goes, yeah, but what is it about?
Yeah, well, I don't get it.
I don't get
What do
it.
you mean snakes on a plane?
Yeah, like what's the story here? It's like,
okay, get this.
Get this.
There's a plane.
There's a plane. On that plane are some snakes, and you know, there's lots of detail here. There's lots of detail, like because there are snakes on the plane. But first, they're in a box. But then, get this, they escape, and now the
Where's
snakes
the
are
box?
loose on the plane.
Oh, the box is on
but
the
we don't
plane?
put that in the title because that we leave some up to the imagination. But like, so high concept movie captures the imagination of the audience. They already go it, and then later on, they go, we got this other idea for a movie now. This is gonna blow your mind. Zombies on a plane was also made.
Yeah.
So it's something about that which is like, then I have never made this connection before in my mind. It's probably everybody's made it before me, but between concept movies, Snakes on a Plane, and banana taped to the wall.
Yeah.
Like you immediately go, it's like the Colombi egg or whatever of the people who couldn't get the egg to stand on the table, and then he just takes the egg and goes cracks, crunches it so it just stands there, and then afterwards everybody goes, I could have done that. Yeah, but you didn't.
Yeah.
I did. So now I'm the guy who did it or whatever.
Yeah.
So there is something about concepts that people like. Maybe that connects then the lowbrow and the highbrow again.
That's cool. Yeah. That's a good one.
That conceptual art, that if they make a joke of us saying, well, all I do is that I squeeze myself through some rackets, or I balance a spoon on my nose and I tell a story about love, and you do the juggling, and they belittle that because they think, it's just populistic stuff that you do for children.
Yeah.
And we can go, hey, but you guys are just a small step removed from Snakes on the Plane. It's just a high concept thing.
Totally.
Anyway.
Hey, before I forget, so now you have that recording on your phone.
Yeah.
And when we started doing Reflex, I looked into this thing called Otter AI. Because we were doing all those we were doing those jam sessions, and I would record them, and then basically I would have to transcribe them by hand, which was very laborious. I think in the end it was great because it made me listen in a deeper way.
And then also you ended up using a bunch of that copy and pasting it and literally using some in the script.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of the Otter AI doing the transcription, it didn't work. It had too many bugs in it, too many errors.
Oh, yeah.
So in the end, I just had to do it by hand. But now there's a new, now with this whole Chat GPT thing, there's a new thing called Whisper.
Oh.
And it's a protocol from the people who make Chat GPT or something, an open protocol. And I've been using a couple of Whisper applications on my computer, and it's freaking perfect.
Wow.
So now you could take this recording and you could throw it into a Whisper. There's a bunch of clients now that host this Whisper application.
Yeah.
And it would just transcribe it perfectly now.
Amazing.
If you wanted. And the thing is, the problem is, like me and you, we do voice messages back and forth on Facebook Messenger. So, because the thing is, this Whisper stuff automatically happens when you do like a recording that you can save and then put that recording into the engine.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Facebook you can't. So I found an app on the laptop where it listens to the audio of your system.
So it listens out of the speaker, kind of, or?
Yep. Exactly.
Out of the speaker into the microphone? Or?
No. It's just taking internal signal.
Okay.
So the cool thing is, I did this a few times now. You have like let's say you have a run of like 10 Facebook messages to me, messenger things, voice messages. I can mute my speakers so I don't have to listen. I can do something else.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I can just press play. And it routes the audio into this program, and that program gives me a perfect transcription of what you said. So I've done that a few times now.
That's amazing. I would love to see that.
So the only missing link now is me and you sending voice messages to each other, where those voice messages can also be thrown into a transcription service to be automatically transcripted.
Yeah. But we should consider finding a different app to do it in.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Like not do it in Messenger.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because that was just started out of necessity, and we developed this rule that we send, because you can't fast forward or whatever. That's why, like, when I get to a new conversation and when I'm going to scroll up to find something from before, sometimes you got to do 60 scrolls with your finger to get to the next thing, because I send you 10, 15 things, but each one is only 1 minute long, so that you can then I click like, or I click thumbs up or whatever, and I try to go like this to find it again, so you put different emojis on so you can find it. There's like mind-blowing kind of thing, although, and it's partly also to tell you, but it's also like,
it's a good point here. I do that too. And the thing is that the 1 minute chunks, I tried to explain this to a friend the other day who had sent me like a 5-minute message. They don't work in my life because I press play for 5 minutes, but I get a phone call, I get a text, Sindri needs to have a hot dog, and then there's no pause, stop, rewind, there's no functions, right? So you're just stuck going.
And you don't know what the time is, so you got to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, so. But there's no way to scrub, so then I'm just like, now I have to you have to fucking start a 5-minute recording.
Yeah.
I mean, it can take you quite a chunk of time to eventually get through it if you're always starting over again.
Yeah.
And so, we should find a new way to send voice message. Because the voice message is awesome, because you hear the nuance in the voice and you hear the explanation, and it's so much more clear, I think, than writing.
Yeah. But it's also because when I am writing something, I don't write like you do when you're talking. And I was just reading Free to Play by Peter Gray, a book on play, and there he has like primary science. It's kids playing, and it's just transcribed, and he goes, it'll take a little while to get into what they're going to have, because they're making leaps all the time. So you need to live yourself into the text to get what the different child is, and they make all these leaps in the play that is completely altering the rules, and how one balks a little bit, and then they go. So it takes you a little while to get into it, because it's not written like the rest of the book is written. But this is how the language actually is spoken when the children are playing.
Cool.
But just that little preamble that he did to put the context in, they go, don't give up and go, it doesn't make any sense. Look at it, and then you go, this is spoken language. This is language used within imaginative play, and it is different. And the way that we are talking now, even though it is making sense, I'm constantly waving my arms. So I'm making the point, and I'm going, and you're nodding, and I see that you're getting the idea, and then I shape what I'm saying. So this has been shaped, and it's different. So
and also, like, I can voice message you on the way to the store, which is what I frequently do, right? Like, I'm going somewhere, I'm like, I got 20 minutes now, I can tell Frodo that idea I thought of. Whereas, like, if I had to write it out to you, I'll never talk to you again.
Then it will never happen, Yeah, and it's that thing that you talked about, that you're hang up about. I can't listen to my podcast because I need to take notes. And this book here, A Bandit, A Secret Has Two Faces, where you go, I can't just read it because I need to take notes and assimilate it into my life, and hence it stands on the.
I don't read it.
On the wall, on the shelf.
Now I got over it with your podcast for the moment. Like, now I just make myself listen to all the new ones that come out. I still suffer frequently during every episode where I'm like, fuck, I should remember this was so good what they said. But like, no, I just live with it.
And
I can't not
that's
listen to it.
You need to go to the next step, because I often then when I'm reading something or whatever, and I'm underlining or whatever, I'm going like, I'm underlining this so that when I get back to it and I write a little note out what the thought is, that I underline it. This is the text in question, and I write a little note next to it in the margin of the book, which where I connect it up to showmanship and go, oh, blah blah blah, this is connected to it in this way, so that when I go back and I'm going to actually use this, then I will know where it is and I will find it. But in 90% of the cases, I never go back to that book, because I don't have that time, or that project is, like I talked about yesterday, I'm so overloaded with projects that are going on. But to the real world, I'm doing nothing. Those 3 different shows that are constantly developed, 4, because it's the dinosaur show as well. But it's
Sindri. Sorry, I should give him the hot dogs.
Yeah, go give him the hot dogs.
Uber Eats delivery. Wait,
oh,
right back.
Sweet.
All right, and as Jay gives his son a hot dog, we take a break on this here sprawling episode from the kitchen in Stockholm. Each time when I get to the end, I go, oh wow, I should really have told you guys that you can go on to you can click where you find this podcast, and you can click yourself to a place where you can actually buy our t-shirts. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, you can find me on Instagram as The Way of the Showman now, and we're building a little bank there of people who have these t-shirts on, and it's good for me to see that people are actually wearing these, and there's nothing really that is better than that, I think. I mean, the only thing that could be better than you wearing a t-shirt around is to actually just tell somebody about it, because what the cash value of this podcast is not the value that I get from donations, although you can give me donations if you want to at buymeacoffee.com/Captain Frodo. You can give me a little donation, but this after traveling to Stockholm and doing all these conversations, I spent real money going out there doing it, and flying there and buying tickets and all this sort of stuff. So it might not come as a surprise to all of you that that the money that this podcast brings in is rather limited, but that doesn't really matter, because the main thing that you guys can give me is your attention, and I really value your time and your attention, and the best thing you could do to show that you value what I do here is to share this podcast with someone, so that we get more people, more listeners, more people out there thinking, wow, that's amazing. And then the 0.002% of people who think, wow, that's really sweet, I'm going to get myself a t-shirt or give this guy a donation. So anyway, it's a bit like a street show. You can say this stuff in the end, but regardless of what kind of actions you take, the episodes will keep coming out. And with all that said, I've said all that needs to be said, and all that's left to be said then is take care of yourself and those you love, and I hope to see you along the way.